Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to All Wrestling Talk presents Indy Superstar Spotlight with special guest Anthony Velvet Hall. And yes, he is here with me right now. I will introduce you to him just in a few secs. Let me go ahead and first thank all the fans out in Winder for coming out to DCWM Feels Lucky. Had a lot of confusion at the end of the show. Trust me, we're going to get all that straightened out. Going to be having some talk with DCWM. We're going to get all that straightened out. But in Milledgeville, at the Fun Faction, DCWM is coming back to the Fun Faction to do shamrocks to headlocks. Guys, special time is going to be as like we did. 4 o'clock, the doors are going to open. 5 o'clock, the bell is going to ring. We're going to do the show, have fun. A few matches, definitely a message in the middle. And we go, guys. We're going to have a great time. Looking forward to seeing the fans in Milledgeville. All Wrestling Talk will be there. We'll have some little quick show where we're doing. So, with that being said, also tomorrow, Evan King, one of the guys up in Oklahoma, he's going to be on the show. It's going to be through a phone call, but definitely want to check it out. He will be on the phone with me. We'll have everything ready, so definitely keep your ears open. Thursday, no show. Happy birthday, Anna. Daddy's going to be around with you. And then on next week, we got some more dates pulled. On the 18th of March, we have Bolo. And then on the 19th, ACE Championship Wrestling over in Alabama. So they are going to, the promoters, the husband and wife team, will both be joining us. But now with all that set aside, let's go to the actual interview. And let me welcome this is the first time on All Wrestling Talk Nation, and that is Mr. Anthony Velvet Hall. Thank you for coming and being a part of the show, Anthony.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem. Hey, wanted to thank you for coming on the show. I know I've seen your stuff on YouTube and Facebook a lot, so we definitely wanted to today thank you for being a part of the show and also allowing us to have put a link of one of your matches against Eli Daniels on the Facebook page so people could see what you do and everything. But for someone that's never got to see you in action or anything, kind of give the fans a little sample. What is Anthony Velvet Jones about? Where you wrestle out of, and Tell us about you, buddy.
Well, my primary wrestling home is the Georgia Independent Wrestling Alliance based out of Milledgeville. I wrestle a lot of times in Porterdale, Georgia for Plantnum Championship Wrestling, one of the hottest organizations in the entire state of Georgia, bar none. Great place to work, great camaraderie, great locker room. I also wrestle in different states as I'm working now as we speak on some promos that I actually have to send up to an organization in North Carolina where I will begin wrestling for them in April. So, right. Everywhere that's anywhere in Georgia, I've pretty much been, and I enjoy doing what I do.
Awesome. Well, it is indie wrestling. Things happen up and down anytime. What is it basically that drew you to doing wrestling? What was it that you said, you know what, I got to be in this business?
Honestly, I never thought I would be in it. To be in a position where local wrestling came to town was actually pretty cool, and I thank the guys back in the days of the original Middle Georgia Championship Wrestling for bringing it to the town in which I live. From that grew the GIWA out of Milledgeville. I went to one of their shows. I didn't think the refs did a good job. I said I could do a better job. I got an opportunity to be a referee. All the while I was training, I did ref for about 2 years. After about 2 years, they had a show in Gray, Georgia. One of the wrestlers didn't show up for the tag team title match. I was asked if I was ready to get into the ring, and I said, yeah. I took it upon myself to get in there, and even though it was a losing effort, I had the pleasure of teaming up with a guy by the name of Matt Black, and that's how I got started in the business. But like I said, it was spur of the moment, and it just spawned into a career that I've enjoyed from top to bottom.
Awesome. You just talked about, you ref for a few years. Let's go ahead and just kind of talk those beginning stages. A lot of guys starting out in wrestling, they kind of think, just because you say you want to be a wrestler, you should be in the ring and wrestling. Not really the case. My question to you, what was like the biggest challenge for you? Was it, getting in the ring, the adjusting, the learning was a bump? What was it the biggest challenge, biggest obstacle for you, wise for getting into the wrestling business or learning the wrestling business?
Um, I would have to say you have to. I mean, in order to excel at this, you have to really make a commitment to not just do it, but to do it well. And doors are open for you. And sometimes a lot of guys get into the ring and they get into the business and they don't understand that they have to do the little things like, being respectful, being on time, showing up to shows and all that kind of stuff, to be successful and have a promoter realize that he can rely on you when he does book you. So I had to make the commitment to do these things in order to excel in the business, and that was a big thing for me at first. Because at first I was just like, okay, I'm a wrestler, but then when I saw that I liked it and I could adapt to certain situations and I could, be better at it, then I made my mind up to actually be a better person in terms of how I conducted myself in in the business sense of professional wrestling. The mechanics and all that kind of stuff. If you train hard enough and get a good trainer, that'll come to you. But I had to just really adjust my attitude more than anything else.
Yeah, a lot of guys, would tell you like just certain bumps would be harder. Some would say the attitude. Some would just say the schedule. In that, kind of describe your style in the ring. I mean, are you a high flyer, submission expert? I mean, ground and pound. When we see a match, what do we expect from Anthony Velvet Jones or Hall? My bad.
Well, the wrestling name is Velvet Jones. The shoe name is Anthony Hall.
Oh, okay. We'll call you
Honestly,
Velvet Jones. I apologize.
it's cool. It's cool. My style has evolved because when I first started wrestling, I was about 190 pounds, and in that time, I've gained weight. I'm about 240 pounds of nothing but muscle, so I don't fly through the air as much. My game is more mat based and ground based, and I'm honest with myself and what I'm able to do, and that's basically my style. I'm a ground and pound kind of guy, but because I do have the experience of actually doing chain wrestling and things of that nature, I like to think I'm versatile in that sense, and I can adapt to any situation.
All right. Question here. And the guy was just asking me because some of the challenges some guys have are just getting used to being in front of the camera. You know,
Mm,
some guys have the gift of gab. You know how that goes. You get in front of a camera, light comes on, you're on. But some guys,
right.
it takes a little bit. What are you more of the guy that when the light's on, you're good, or when it's more of a just kind of guy to get used to it, you had to work through it. What, say you on that?
I've always been spontaneous, so you turn the lights on, you put the camera on me, and I just go. That's just how I am. I've always been that way. So it wasn't much of an adjustment. It was just more or less trying to adapt and make it fit in the wrestling sense.
What was now, when you were talking about your transition from, you said you weighed about buck 90 going to, about 240 now, and
Mhm.
I dreamed to be 240, but anyway, but the question I have for you, what, obviously, like you said, you had to go through a transition, kind of the, an evolution of, okay, I'm not going to be able to pull this move off, not able to pull that. When was it like, I mean, obviously when you're, gaining the muscle, you gain the weight, you could feel it. But what was it an easy transition to go from high flyer to mat wrestler, or was it kind of a struggle because you're just so used to doing a certain move set or certain pattern when you work in the ring?
I've always been the kind of person where, excuse me, I will
Hmm.
watch my matches. And if I don't like the way I look doing something, I stop doing it. If it doesn't make sense for me to do it, I don't do it. I used to do leg lariats and hurricane ranas and Mexican head scissors all the time when I weighed less than what I weigh now. But
Hmm.
at 240 pounds, honestly, I'm bigger than most of the indie wrestlers in any locker room anyway. in terms of like the way, like, you know, just my muscle mass and my body shape and all that kind of stuff. So being that I'm more often than not going to be in the ring with a guy who may be slightly smaller than me to a guy who's a lot smaller than me, I recognize that, and you know, it's just making that transition as a whole was just it it I had to really just make my mind up that my wrestling matches aren't all about me. I'm in there with somebody, and I'm in there to put a show on for the fans. So I can't get in there and think about myself and think about how good I'm going to look doing a Hurricane Rana when at 240 pounds I look stupid doing it to a guy who weighs about 180. So that's just it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's just something that happens usually. Guys, so used to doing a move, and it's like, I didn't know how that transition is when you go from, all right, I can fly and everything, and then you go, oh, maybe I don't need to be flying so much. Let me get back on this ground.
Right, exactly.
Let me go ahead and ask you, in the matches and stuff, indie scene, you know how it goes. Guys going to come late. Guys going to make misappointments. But the question I have for you is when you are in a situation, you're there, you're ready to go, and you have either you don't know who your opponent is, you don't, if not, don't know, but you have an opponent set in mind. The guy told you this is who you're going to go against. You show up. Well, the guy called out. Something happened. You got to go against these guys. What? All right. How does that, go into the mind of the wrestler, kind of take us there. What is it like? It's like spur of the moment, because I've learned in the business you got to be able to be on your toes at anything. What has been like the transition for you when you deal with that?
It doesn't bother me at all. It's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the business. Everybody there's a part of the business that's predictable, and then there's a part that's not. The most unpredictable thing that ever happened to me was the day I walked into a building as a referee and walked out as a wrestler. That just tells you how unpredictable this business is. So you have to be ready for anything, whether it's what kind of match you put in, who you're in the match with, the match result itself, how many matches you may have to fight. I've gone to shows and, thought I was going to fight one guy and wound up fighting one guy in the first half and wound up fighting in the main event of the second half of the show. Mm-hmm. So it's just the business itself is unpredictable. And the only way you could actually survive in this business is just be willing to adapt to any situation.
What kind of go here? We're going to go about your gimmick. We're going to talk about what Velvet Jones, your gimmick name is. But what is it about the wrestling business? What is it about being able to be a part of the business, being able to learn? When you said about your training, how long exactly did you train before you actually got to wrestle? Because you said you walked in as a referee and then you had to wrestle. How long was that training period for?
My training, when I first started, I got trained by Lance Christian, a guy who was in the organization, and we would train like a couple of Saturdays throughout the month. One of the guys in the organization had a ring, actually had it in his backyard, and we learned how to wrestle. And I was being taught by a guy who actually did know how to wrestle. So there were random Saturdays I trained, and then something happened with Lance's schedule where I couldn't train with him like I wanted to. So therefore, when I would referee at shows, before the show started, I would get in the ring with the wrestlers, and I would learn a bit from them and learn something from this guy, something from that guy. And, when everything happened when I had my first match, I was just fortunate enough to know enough to get through the match. And from there, I kept learning. Any opportunity I had to learn, I learned. I went to seminars. I was unemployed, and despite what everybody has to say about Bill DeMott, I think he's a great guy. When I was unemployed, I went and trained with him in McDonough, Georgia, and for 3 hours a day, 3 times a week. And I took it upon myself just to train every opportunity I had. So initial training is good, but the last in this business, you got to be open-minded enough to know that you'll never know it all. and any opportunity to learn, you got to take it.
Yeah, we actually had a situation where we had to have one of our refs take the ball and wrestle in the match, and he was kind of surprised, and we were like, "Hey, this is what happens, man. You gotta be ready at all times." So I was glad for him. He did a good job. But I'm glad you mentioned that because you're the what you're saying is basically it's the classic dream. It's like you didn't have the it wasn't given to me. You kept on fighting for it. So
Right.
that's really good on that accord. What tell me this. You just talked about your trainer. You talked about Bill DeMont. Tell me some guys that in your road to becoming a wrestler. Kind of was I don't want to say inspiration, but more of just that guiding hand that helped you through some hard times, stuff of that sort.
Um, well, first and foremost, I got to say, Mike Stratus, Mike Jones was always a guy who gave me an opportunity to do a lot of things. And when I first started, I mean, I was trying to just hit every place in Georgia and learn everything I could from wherever I went. So it's kind of hard to say because I don't want to miss out any names. But honestly, I can like Mike Jones, um, Lance Christian, Mike Money and AWN, Sean Hunter. Um, Crew Jones, definitely. He helped me out a lot. And even a guy who's no longer wrestling named Oko Nono. A lot of those guys took me under their wing and they schooled me a lot. And they really taught me about the business and how to go about doing things.
All right. What? All right. So let me go ahead and ask you. You get been in wrestling. You said all over Georgia. You're about to set off to Carolina. What? Some of the guys that you just enjoyed wrestling with, people that you got to get in the ring with, and it was just a blast being in the ring with. You got to enjoy the matches. Who are some of those guys for you?
Um, Most recently, I would have to say um, Marvelous Marco, who was formerly known as Marco Polo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Adrian Armour. It was good to wrestle him. He's a young up and comer, and he's wise beyond his years and has a boatload of ability. Um, with the exception of maybe one match, I can't really say I've had a bad match in Platinum Championship Wrestling. So everybody I've had an opportunity to wrestle with there has been, have all been great competitors, and I've had fun wrestling those guys. So it's always fun to go up there and wrestle.
All right. Um, give me a minute. I was having an issue here with my phone. What is it about who was give me that moment. You talked about wrestling main events, beginning matches. What's the one match like? It's just hard to not hard, but just more of a challenge for you. Like, is it the startup match? Is it the lead off pace setting match, or is it the matchups where it's the main event and you've got to keep that momentum going?
I mean, well, like I said before, it's like you just adapt. So I can't point to one match and say one match is harder than the other. I mean, I pride myself on just being able to adapt to any situation because I want to be able to be an asset to any organization I wrestle for. So if they want to put me in a tag team match, that's cool. If they want to put me in a curtain jerker match, that's cool. If they want to put me in a main event, that's cool. Anything in between that works for me. So ultimately, that's just, I mean, I can't really say one match is harder than the other because I train outside of wrestling to be ready for anything. So I don't really gauge situations as, well, I'm more adamant to wrestle this match than I am wrestle that match. I want to be in there and compete and be an asset to whoever I'm working for. So it's kind of hard for me to answer that question and point to one because I don't feel that way about any of them.
No, that's good, man. I'm just, these are questions that we just ask. What, tell us about your gimmick, because I've now seen you in your gear in a few pictures when I was watching some of your matches.
Right.
Tell us your character when you wrestle. So if the fans come see you, what to expect?
Well, my character is just very upbeat, very energetic. When I first started wrestling, I wrestled with a pimp gimmick. But I got rid of that because when I first got into wrestling, a lot of fans gravitated toward me, and out of that came public speaking opportunities. And so,
Mm-hmm.
with all the negative connotations that come with the pimp gimmick, I kept the name and got rid of the gimmick. So instead of wearing all the fur and the velvet clothing and whatnot, I just kept the energy more than anything else. And I just try to get the fans involved as much as I possibly can, because if you never get over yourself long enough to realize you're performing in front of an audience, you won't last long in this business. Trust me. And that's my whole deal more than anything else. I try to be a people person. I try to get the fans what they want, whether I'm working as a good guy or a bad guy. It's all about them.
All right. So when you typically wrestle, what do you rather work as, a heel, face, or are you cool with working faces, or being a face? What is it for you? What do you enjoy the most?
Lately I have enjoyed wrestling as a heel in Platinum Championship Wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
because it allows me to do more in terms of just offensively and entertaining the crowd more than anything else. I've wrestled primarily as a face, but once again, it's just me adapting to situations. I really don't have a preference.
Okay. What trying to come up with another idea to another question for you. What was your moves? We talked about you were originally a high flyer. Talk about the ground and pound transition. What wrestlers, superstars that you look at and go, that's kind of that's kind of how you didn't literally just rip them, but you just said, that's the gimmick. That's what I see myself I could do with that. I could take that move. I can use that move.
Um, I'd have to say somebody that I look up to a lot, and that would be Bobby Lashley, because he's strong, he's powerful, and he also has the collegiate and amateur wrestling background as well. So his versatility, coupled with his strength, is something that I look at a whole lot. And even Kurt Angle, like I said, with me being at my size, I'm able to toss guys around effortlessly. So I want to be able to throw a guy from one end of the ring to the other, and he makes it look so good. So that's my whole deal more than anything else. I like those two guys above anybody else out there wrestling now. Shout out to TNA.
I got to see Kurt Angle win the gold medal. I got to see him. What was it? Not just that, but I got to see a great match with him and AJ Styles. And no matter what, to me, Kurt Angle's always been a top-notch superstar. So I got nothing but love. And Bobby Lashley, it's so cool to see him in the business, see him in the ring. He is one in a million. He's definitely a very good wrestler to watch. What what is your favorite match of all time? And it could be in the indies, but what match? You said like I said, were you a wrestling fan as a kid? If so, what was that match that made you go, I want to do that? You know what I mean?
As a kid, yeah, I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up watching wrestling. I watched a lot of WWE, which was WWF back then, and I watched a lot of that. And if there was one match that really made me want to become a wrestler, it's probably everybody else's match. It'd probably have to be the matchup between Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage from WrestleMania 3. That match,
Yep.
above all else, made me really want to be a professional wrestler.
Oh yeah, that's an all timer for me too. That and Kurt Angle with Shawn Michaels. I mean, there's so many matches out there that you can chronically put out there. You said WWF. What was like? You talked about top guys in WWE or TNA actually, where Bobby Lashley, Kurt Angle. Are there indie guys that you just, if you got to wrestle with them, or they can even be the guys in Ring of Honor, but guys that you got to get in there and said, man, that's this is why I love this business. I get to work with talent like this.
Chip Day. I worked him at Platinum Championship Wrestling once again, and while he was in the midst of his title reign, and I've always said Chip is like one of the most underrated guys in all of Georgia, and for me to be able to get in the ring with him and hang with him, despite it being a losing effort, for me to do that let me know that my training and everything I put out there to just be accepted by people was it's worth it. It's worth it. I enjoyed wrestling him, and I wrestle him again at the drop of a hat.
True, true. Let's talk about some stories on the road. I mean, you go up and down the roads. You're probably traveling more often than not. What was one of the most funniest or just out there? You're like, man, only here it happens. What's that? What's that moment like?
Oh
Give
man,
me
I
some
tell you
stories. I
what.
don't mind.
Okay. Oh man, let me see. I had quite a few of them. One story I had would probably be I went to, I think me and like a couple of guys carpooled to do a show in North Carolina for AIWF. And so we're leaving out of Georgia. We cross over into South Carolina. The van's getting low on gas. We're trying to figure out where we're going to go, so we wound up stopping at a gas station. So we get to the gas station, and the gas station is closed. But for some reason, there is a woman there in a white dress, like a club dress, a nightclub dress, and I want to say a Ford Expedition. And
Okay.
I think she was hammered. So she was asking us like, how does she get back on the road? Because we were like right out of Augusta, Georgia, and had just crossed over into South Carolina. And so she was asking us how to get back on I-20, and we told her and everything. And eventually, like, the road was dark, and right where she was, where you hit the ramp and go onto the exit or whatever. So eventually, I told her, I said, well, give us your number so we know you're all right and you made it home safely. So eventually, she did get where she wanted to go. I called her the next day, and she was like, I'm okay, I'm all right. And then all of a sudden, the conversation went from I'm okay, I'm all right to I'm a newly divorced woman with 3 kids, and, it's been a struggle ever since, but I found God. I found God. That was just, it was bananas. That was hilarious. And I was like, let the church say amen. It was crazy. But, I
The
mean,
choir
and
sings.
she called me a couple times after that, and I lost touch with her. But that's one of many stories. It was crazy.
Oh my lord. And that's the fun part about it. You just things can happen at a drop of a hat.
Mhm.
Especially with this business. What? All right. So my next question for you is this. Into wrestling and everything. Just outside the ring. What are some things that you just enjoy doing? Past shows I had Aja, Pereira tell me she loves food. I got Fred telling me he's a comic book guy. I got, one guy saying, he just enjoys gymnastics, and I'm going, Jesus Lord, I just am a video game junkie. But what is it about? What do you enjoy doing? Pastimes and everything in that sort.
Lately, honestly, like I said, when I wrestle, I travel so many places. But the bad part about that situation is, like, when I go to these places, I'm there. I put my bags down. I work. I go to the hotel, take a shower, and go right back home. So I never get a chance to enjoy any places I go to travel. But I now I'm getting into traveling and going places and just enjoying these places that I may wrestle in and stuff like that. So traveling and seeing new things more than anything else, that's starting to become a hobby of mine.
All right. All right, here's another question, and I normally do ask this, so I always try to give this to the person that I talk to. So you get an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
money, whatever the money is, and character development. If you had a choice of where you wanted to go, Ring of Honor, TNA, WWE, or Japan, where would you want to go?
To be honest, and I mean, it may surprise a lot of people, but I personally, if I had an opportunity to go to any of those places, I would go to TNA.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. The reason I
Yeah,
would go to
please do.
TNA,
Please do. I want to know. I want to hear it.
the schedule is so much it's not quite as demanding. A lot of people will say, well, okay, I want the money and I want this, and I love to go to WWE and ride up and down the road. Here's my thing with that. With WWE, a lot of people don't understand the commitment that you have to make to be successful in WWE. They don't
Mm-hmm.
understand what it's like to travel for years on end, 300 nights out of a year. And you can give me all the garbage about, well, I'm doing this because I love it and everything, but you go out there and somebody drops you on your head and you got a concussion, and they're still demanding that you still go up and down the road for another 45 days, and you're not well. But
Yep.
because of contractual obligations, you have to do it. I happen to be fortunate enough to have gone to school, and I got a couple of college degrees. And I didn't go to school to go travel up and down the road 300 nights out of the year and get dropped on my head.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's the dream that some guys want to live, more power to them. But my personal preference is that I would much rather be a professional wrestler than a sports entertainer, simply because I enjoy the art of pro wrestling and sports entertainment. It's fun and it's entertaining and everything, but the demand on your body, if that's all you have, then that's cool. But I'm a person who has more than just professional wrestling. Like I said, I have an education and I have some other goals outside of pro wrestling that I like to pursue. And in the pursuit of those goals, I'd love to have a clear mind.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather, honestly, if I ever got an opportunity to go to TNA and work for TNA, I would take it at the drop of a hat.
So TNA is the question, and you know what? That's not a bad thing. I mean, I've heard guys say a lot of the answer is Japan. Then,
Mm-hmm.
like the one guy surprised me was with Fred saying WWE, but TNA is different, and I respect it because actually they've gotten a lot better, especially with the latest changes they've done.
Right.
Definitely done a good job with that, and especially with Lashley and Angle and MVP. I have no problem with those guys. Those guys actually, very impressive when you watch them wrestle. What? Yeah. All right. So we talked about that. We talked about learning to travel. Talked about the Ford Expedition woman who found Jesus. Good job there. What is it? What's like? You kind of mention it. So let's go ahead and get to that. You said
Okay.
wrestling is an art form. It's a
Mm-hmm.
it's just a treat, to showcase the abilities and guys. If you see a very good match, like let's say a Ricky Steamboat Macho Man, Ricky Steamboat Ric Flair comes to mind. Those
Mm-hmm.
matches, you felt like you saw something special every
Right.
time. And they could have done, and they probably did the same match probably a couple of times, but it still was different for the fans.
Right.
What is it about because some guys look at it as an art form, some guys look at it as just a way to get money, some guys look at it as whatever, just a cheap way to get through what they can do. Another place can fight. You called it an art form. What makes it an art form to you? What makes for you, where other guys would say, man, I just like to bang, I like to just go full throttle. What
Mm-hmm.
makes you go, you know what, I want to take it at a different approach. I want to go at it a different way.
More than anything else, the ability to draw the people watching it in and keep them there for the entire ride. The last thing I want somebody to do when they go to one of my matches is lose interest because they got lost along the way. I want to tell the story from the time I step out the curtain to the time I get back into the curtain. And I hope my opponent has the same idea. Like I said, I've been in this business for a while. And it took some maturity on my part to realize that, once again, it's not all about us. It's about the people who pay money. Because if we didn't have those people, we'd be performers without an audience. So ultimately, we have to do what we have to do, not only to send them home happy, but to make sure they come back again.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to tell a story that, they can immerse themselves in, that they can follow from point A to point B, and that truly satisfies them. I don't want somebody to say, okay, that was a good spot, and okay, well, that was nice, but the rest of the match sucked. No, I want you to enjoy what I'm doing. And the ability to draw people in and have them do that from beginning to end, to me, that's an art form. And it takes a lot to get to that place where you actually aren't selfish in professional wrestling, where you want to make the people who come and watch you happy.
Yep. I like that. One of the questions I got here was just kind of not just the aspect of that, but also the aspect of paying dues. We talked about your beginnings, and I like hearing about you were a ref, you were
Mhm.
called upon to wrestle, and you wrestled, and
Right.
you walked in as a ref, walked out as a wrestler, and then
Right.
it's just kind of the evolution. Not taking no for an answer when you weren't able to train, and you just had to take those small bits of training that you could get.
Right.
Did you ever felt like, man, I want more, I want more, but or were you like, I'm getting it, I'm gonna keep finding a way to get more? You know how some guys feel entitled. They like, if you train me more, I'll do better. Or
Right.
were you the guy, when you realize, man, I got to go get it when I can. You know,
That's how I was. I'm that way now because a lot of indie wrestlers, a lot of times we want to, when you talk about, it's kind of like it's a complicated answer in a sense,
mm-hmm.
but the truth of the matter is this: wrestling hierarchies, booking people, and things of that nature. You never know what kind of relationships they have in terms of personal relationships, whether they're friends, buddies, cousins, brothers, whatever. At the end of the day, people are going to book their shows the way they see fit. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what you bring to the table, if they want to put their buddies in places to excel, then that's what they'll do. And they'll use you for that mean. Ultimately, you got to get over that notion. And for me, it was just the point where I just stopped complaining about the glass ceiling and found another building that didn't have one.
Yep.
So I think
Let's
that's what
talk.
I started to do.
Let's talk about politics. I mean, that's kind of a controversial subject to talk about, but I
Mm,
really do want to talk about that because you kind of you broached it, and I'm one of those. I love talking about it. Um,
right.
because to me, it is such a thing where guys, feel like in the business. Do you feel like you can't really just say, hey, I got a problem with this guy. Hey, I got a problem with that. You kind of have there's like that ladder you have to deal with, and you talked about the glass ceiling. When you have to deal with stuff and it comes to your attention, best way. What's the best way for you to take care of it for you?
For me, I used to blog. I used to
Mm-hmm.
write a blog, and I would air my grievances out on the blog, and ultimately that kind of blurred a lot of people's vision when it came to me. I compare, and I want to explain this because I wanted people to get a complete understanding of what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
compare
just
me blogging in relation to what I'm able to do in the ring to the backlash that Roman Reigns has seen in comparison to what he's able to do. He's being judged more
yeah,
than anything else by what he does outside of the ring than what he can do in the ring. And for that reason, a lot of people aren't really giving him a chance. And I was the same way with my blog. So what I did, I eliminated the blog completely. I stopped writing in it. I stopped airing my grievances out that way. And now I'm to the point where if I got a problem with somebody, I let them know. I let
yeah,
them know directly. And if they take it upon themselves to have a problem with me and they feel the need to address it indirectly, you know, once again, I talk to them directly about it. So ultimately, I guess what I'm trying to say is the direct approach is the best one.
yeah. And it's funny. We're talking right now. You know, I love when outside people are trying to tell me, well, in the bit, y'all, wrestling, wrestlers shouldn't have to air grievances. Y'all should stop acting like it's a drama back there. But in the business, you try to, you get up, you tell someone face to face. That doesn't mean it goes over well, but you try to squash it when you're dealing with it. You know,
Right.
and I mean, when you're dealing with people, people are going to respond their ways they've been taught. So we can't ever make someone do it the way they, like me and you have an issue, we call each other out on it, it's squashed. But
Mm,
someone else wants to pick it up and say, I don't know, man, he still don't like you. No, I mean, if I tell you what's up, you tell me what's up, we work it out, it's done. And
right.
that is the best way. I mean, I know with what we deal with in the back and stuff, that's usually the best policy is, talking it out, especially if you have issues. Have you ever felt that in a booking, or just, because you talked about, let's talk difference of your home place that you get booked at, which I believe you said was GIWA, or was it Platinum?
GIWA, or both places actually. I
Okay,
consider
okay.
both places home.
Let's talk about the etiquette of when you're in your home base versus when you're at someone else's show. Do what's the difference there? Because that's something that someone just asked me. I'm hearing, home base, but what is the difference between if I brought you into a show and you're at your home base? What's the difference to be expected to be booked as?
Um, Once again, it depends on the booker. It depends on the booker because you have to know the motivations of the booker. If the booker is somebody who's on the show, then he may not care how you're booked, because ultimately at the end of the day, he's worried about how his match is going to go over. Or if you have somebody, like I said, it's hard to pinpoint and say how any differences. Well, I'll put it like this: there are differences everywhere. There's
Yeah.
differences everywhere. So therefore, I can't say everybody's booking style is based on the same difference. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Because, like I said, one guy may book you differently in a favorable situation. Another guy may book you another way, and
Yeah.
and that's just the nature of the booker and his motivations more than anything else.
Let me ask you, have you ever had a moment where you're in the ring, you're wrestling, and something, you know how there are times, you're trying to stay serious or you're doing your thing, and then you have a match where it's just nothing but a complete goof off. You're laughing mainly half the time. You're trying not to, but the guy is cracking you up or something. He's doing something. Like we had one guy running around waving his hands in the air going, "Money!" Just something like that mess. Have you ever experienced it? Because I'm going to tell you, we had a few of those moments, and I was just looking at a few of the guys going, "I'm done. I can't. I don't know what to say." At this point, it's like, this is all kinds of special, and Mamacita can't fix this.
I honestly have not had that kind of match. I honestly haven't had where somebody just like joked around during the course of the match and tried to make me break face or anything. I haven't had it. In all the years I've been wrestling, it's never happened to me.
All right. Oh, that's good for you. I'll tell you what. So that is very good for you. I'll tell you that. All right. Well, we're actually heading around the end of the show because got a few things I got to deal with. But I want to thank you so much, Anthony, for being a part of the show. If someone wants to book you, I want you to kind of go ahead and get your information out there so we can, it's going to go on the website, allwrestlingtalknations.web.com. You can find it on my site. And Anthony, if there's anything like you want to put on there or you want me to put on there, feel free. I'll make sure it's on there. But go ahead and just let them know, FYI, how to get a hold of you if they'd like to get you booked.
Okay. First and foremost, if you'd like to book me for your show, you can email me at sykhosis@yahoo.com. And if you like to follow me on any social media platforms, I do have a fan page on Facebook that is simply titled Velvet Jones. My Twitter handle is Team Velvet, and my Instagram handle is Planet Velvet. And if nothing else, I just want to say thank you to the fans, to the ones that do follow me, the ones that do come out to the shows. Good guy, bad guy, whatever. Ultimately, I want to entertain you guys and make sure that you go home happy.
All right. Well, I want to thank you personally. It's always great to have you. New wrestlers come on and be a part of shows. Guys that've been around. I always want to get everyone out there. You know, that's what Indy Superstar Spotlight's about. It's about reaching the indie guys, the guys that are not typically going to be in WWE, that are not reach. You know, it's like that people don't think, oh, if you're not in WWE, you can't be on the shows. No, I want to get guys that are out there, busting their humps, you know, doing stuff to be out there. I mean, because it is an art form. It is really a special moment to watch when you see some guys really that you've seen starting the bottom and work their way wherever they want to go, as long as they're happy and they're enjoying it. I love what you said about TNA. You know, just because, you know, sometimes a wrestler needs to say what they want. You know, if you want not to have a big workload and not kill yourself all the time, you know, TNA is a good spot for you. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. TNA is actually a good promotion now. Now before, we could have debated, but now that they looks like they're getting back on this right track and not like literally ripping off, you know, going WWE, going, all right, we'll use this one, you know, copy and paste.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So, you know, and I want to thank you. I appreciate it. You know, hopefully we'll get to be reunited, be able to, you know, have you down here one day, Velvet. You know,
Absolutely.
you know, all Wrestling Talk appreciates you. Thank you for coming on, being a part, and just know, anytime you'd like to be on, just give me a holler, let me know. I'll put you on. I don't mind. We'll make sure and get his email. We'll make sure and get his, or at least the Facebook page, and your Twitter's already on the site, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want to get a hold of Velvet, those are some spots you want to get on to him. He's on YouTube also. You got to check some of his matches. Really good. See the transition from young to, you know, the current state, and you'll be impressed. I want to give you that, man. I appreciate that. And like I said, guys, be here tomorrow at 8. We're going to have Devin King. He's a young kid from Oklahoma. He's an indie wrestler that, you know, can't wait to, you know, tell his story. We're going to have him on, you know, same time, guys, 8 o'clock. Keep on watching All Wrestling Talk Nation. Beware, we're always going to have some exclusives. March 22nd, yes, I'm saying it again, March 22nd, we will be in Milledgeville. Fun Faction, Shamrock, the Headlocks. If you're out there, come on out. We're going to have a fun time. Looking forward to it. Guys, thanks so much. Anthony, once again, if you want to find him, he is at Team Velvet at Twitter. He's also Velvet Jones on Facebook. His fan page, Planet Velvet, over at Instagram. We'll get the email, put it on there. Check him out. If you want to book him, go for it. Like I said, you're going to get an outstanding young man, and I appreciate your time being on All Wrestling Talk, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Check me out on Facebook, Anthony Velvet Hall. Everybody be blessed. Take care.
And on that note, I'm C-Double. I'm out.